Hello, my name is David Williams. I am a Florida native. I was raised in Orlando, Florida, and I live in Tampa, Florida now. I've been there probably since around 2007.
Where did you first get the idea for Nile Valley Apparel?
I first got the idea for Nile Valley Apparel because I was looking at a lot of clothing lines that would be marketed towards a hip-hop or streetwear audience, and I felt like what they created didn't have any meaning or any substance behind it. So I felt like there was something missing in the marketplace. So I went out to try to create a streetwear line that had actual substance behind it, and the designs actually had a meaning.
You grew up on hip hop. How is it connected to African imagery?
I wouldn't say that hip hop is connected to African imagery. What I would say is that hip hop culture is connected to African culture for several reasons. First, if you look at the rap element of hip hop culture, if you look at the breakdancing element, these are really extractions or derivatives of a traditional African culture. Also, if you understand that the transatlantic slave trade moved a large mass of Africans to this part of the world that we're in right now, those Africans that were moved here in the United States created hip hop culture. And so really that hip hop culture is just an extension of a traditional African culture or African culture in itself.
Would you agree that hip hop has changed since it first debuted?
Yeah, I would definitely say hip hop has changed. One of the biggest changes, which is not necessarily hip hop, would be technology. Technology has allowed people in hip hop culture to express themselves in a bit of audience that's not really bound by their region, it's not bound by geography. Another change is how the rap element of hip hop, a proportion of that element or a portion of that element has become much more commercial and it's taken on the attitude of the mainstream culture. And you see now how people outside the culture are using people in hip hop culture to promote commercial music. So what you have now is really from a certain segment of rap is essentially pop music in a rap format. One of the other changes, or one of the non-changes, is that the breakdancing, the hip hop turntablism, the graffiti, the elements that are not as commercially viable have been left to change on their own by people that are actually involved in it and have not been influenced by outside changes.
Where do you feel your line fits in evolving hip hop styles?
I would say that my line is more of a new school, what we call a new school classic line. A new school is anything after the old school. What you see now in hip hop fashion from a certain segment, I would say the kids that are 25 and under, is they've gone more for a tight clothes look with the tighter clothes, tighter pants, tighter shirts. However, I think that's a fad, and I think there will be a continuation of the fuller fits where you have the baggier pants and the baggier t-shirts, which is where my line fits in with more of a classic new school look, the way I express myself visually. It's influenced by everything I've seen in my life. So I would say that hip hop culture plays a role, but it's not the primary driving force. It's everything I've experienced in life allows me to express myself visually and pretty much set the tone for how I make things look.
What do you hope to achieve in your designs?
My vision for my designs and my vision for the line was to use images that actually have some substance, that have some meaning. I want to try to stay away from skulls. I want to try to stay away from cartoon images. So what we're using is variations of images and variations of symbols that are actually thousands of years old. What we really want to try to do with the line is to try to raise awareness of African culture and hip hop culture. Because like I said before, I believe that African culture and hip hop culture are directly related. It's very ironic to me that you see images from Kemet or images from Africa all over the world being used by different groups of people, and they're revered all over the world. However, many blacks and many Africans, we have no idea what these images actually mean and the symbolism behind the images. So what I want to do is to try to raise a level of awareness and try to create some curiosity in people, and hopefully that it will cause for some level of self-investigation. An example of that is that if you look at the Eye of Peru, that image is used all over the world. It's using company logos, or a variation of that image is used all over the world. You look at AOL online, you look at the American dollar bill, they're using a variation of the Eye of Peru. You also look at how Europeans with the Kemet, they took all the obelisks out of Kemet, they brought them to Europe. So you have an obelisk inside Vatican Square. George Washington had an obelisk built in DC. They call it the Washington Monument. That's really an obelisk. People go by and they see these actual buildings, or they see these obelisks, and they don't really realize that that's African architecture. It's because of a lack of education. It's because of miseducation, or either people having a phobia of African culture is why we don't have an appreciation and an understanding of what these things mean.
Talk about the hip hop artists and brands that influenced your style.
Some of the hip hop artists that influenced my style. One is a graffiti crew called Metro Transit Assassins. Power Peralta, which was a skateboarding company I grew up on. They put out a lot of really good designs for their skateboards and for their t-shirts. Hip hop artists would probably be Ice Cube and probably be Tupac.
How do you plan to promote your line?
We're going to promote our line primarily through the internet. We're also going to try to build strategic partnerships with people involved in hip hop culture, whether they be DJs, whether they be artists or graffiti artists or breakers, and try to build our line organically. We're really not going to go for a large television or radio push, a large print ad push. We'll try to build the line slowly but surely, and we believe that people will connect with what we're doing because we're authentic and we're true in what we're doing, and we believe people will be able to appreciate that.
It's like you're currently wearing your line now. Tell us a little bit about your shirt.
Okay, what we're wearing is a variant of what you see on the back of the US dollar bill. So it's the Eye of Haru over the top of a pyramid. If you look on the back of the dollar bill, they've taken a variation of the Eye of Haru and made it what we call the all-seeing eye over the top of the pyramid, which is what they call, I think they call it a capstone. Okay, so what we want to show people is that the original image is really from Kemet, and a group of people took that image and they changed it to make it represent them. But if you have knowledge of where the image originally comes from, then you can understand what the image really means, or what you believe the image really means based on the fact that you know where the image came from in the first place.
Bottom of your shirt, it reads, "There are no secrets." Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, it means when we say there is no secret, what we're trying to explain is that in hip hop culture and in world culture, there's a lot of people talking about secret societies and these secret orders and these secret fraternal orders. And what we're trying to get people to understand is that a majority of these secret societies, they took their image, they took their science from Kemet. And so if you understand that if you study Kemet, if you study Nile Valley, then these people don't have any secrets, because really what they've done is they've extracted knowledge from Kemet and they're using that to build their particular fraternal order. So if you study the source, then they don't have any secrets.